So in the last lecture, I ended um, just kind of still addressing the issue of who discovered the New World and the legacy of Columbus. And, I mean, it's fair to say that regardless of who discovered this area, Columbus, the Vikings didn't leave a major societal impact in the sense of drawing European attention to this continent, for example. But with Columbus, we truly do see a kind of a new era of world history. And I think that that's important. And in this regard, Columbus and the crew that he had made a major influence on human history. Now, the controversies regarding him are for very obvious reasons. You'll read, as you read in the Zen text, his opinion and his treatment of the natives that he came in contact were the same that Europeans had in view of many other natives in the world that were not of European heritage. And for the people who originally live here, he is going to represent the end of their world, really. And symbolically, for all indigenous peoples of the United States, Columbus is not going to go down as somebody that is a good guy, a great hero. For Europeans, his legacy is going to be different. And as public schools and different non-European peoples come into studying academia, you start hearing different voices over a period of time of thoughts about people like Columbus. And now, in fact, his reputation has really went into decline. What I want to just point out about this is as we talk about various subjects of U.S. history, I really want to make an emphasis on you thinking about, instead of just saying, I think somebody's bad or I think somebody's good, or you get annoyed with somebody's opinion that you see posted, that what you say is, okay, if I look at a historical event or a historical character, what do they mean to a particular group of people and all of the parties involved, right? If, it goes back to the illustration, if I have a rich uncle who takes care of me, but he does mean things to other people, let's say that he evicts people all day or he's a wife beater, he can really be two things at the same time. He can be taking care of me and giving me lots of money. I don't have an uncle like this, by the way. I just want to make it clear. But, right? Like, you can have people be good to some people and not so good to others. And so they actually have a dual set of legacies. And maybe it's even more complicated than that. And so that's what I want you to think about when you're really kind of like going into these characters and events that we're going to see, especially as we unfold, as we go directly into the history that relates to the making of the United States in particular, okay? So I just wanted to throw that thought your way. Okay, here's what I also thought is just interesting, is because we talk about this new world, which was never new, it was just newly discovered by Europeans, right? It's a continent that we call America, North America and South American continent. And it was named after an Italian map maker, Amerigo Vespucci, okay, from the 16th century. And he basically demonstrated that Brazil and the West Indies were not Asia, and he titled it Mundus Novus, the New World. And then later, German geographer Martin Waldseemüller, I think I'm saying that wrong, but you feel me. He published in 1507 it being called America in honor of Amerigo, okay, in its feminine form. So Amerigo was his name, and it was common then if you're going to name it after him, put it in the feminine, America. So when you hear America, America! Just remember that you're calling out the name of an Italian map maker. So I don't know if that makes you feel more glorified when you say it or just kind of kills it for you. But in any case, if you're an Italian American, you probably feel pretty proud. And why not? Okay. So, I just briefly want to now show you this clip called America Before Columbus. And I'll talk through some things here and just to kind of give us a little visualization of what's going on here. So I'm only going to play a few minutes and I might stop a little bit and talk about some points. Okay, so here we go. We can move along here.
Business expertise as tightly wound as in Europe. Christopher Columbus left his home in Italy to fight for his vision. He aimed to sail west to the riches of Asia. This is an era of discovery and lust for expansion, and it all began with the ambition of a queen. In Europe, the nobles have grown wealthy by trading with the East. Spices and gold, gemstones and silk are the most lucrative goods. But Europeans have lost the Silk Road to the Turks, and foreign trade is in decline. The wealth of kings is in danger. Isabella, Queen of Spain, is desperate to find new routes to India. And she has a plan.
Dejadlo pasar.
This is the most powerful woman in Europe. A continent of expanding horizons filled with competitive and inventive souls. For 500 years they have been building castles, palaces, centers of trade. Kings and popes have raised armies to fight each other and their enemies on Europe's borders. Nowhere else are rivalries so intense, gold fever so widespread, religious fervor and business expertise as tightly wound as in Europe in 1491. Ideas are advancing. Curiosity and the thirst for power push Europe's limits. They're seeking riches and land, heading towards the frontiers of their world. But no one can guess that far beyond the end of that world lies another, of which they know nothing. The Amazon is a crowded place. The Andes cradle a vast empire ruled by powerful god kings. Mesoamerica may be the most densely populated place on Earth, home to the most imposing civilizations on the continent. And the Atlantic coast is filled with villages and fields. Along the rivers, great cities are built around monumental plazas and giant earthen mounds. It is an ancient world, inhabited by hunters and gatherers, fishermen and farmers, kings, slaves and soldiers. Down amongst the trees, where the Missouri, Illinois and Mississippi rivers merge, in what is today the state of Illinois, lies one of the most fertile zones of North America. It's home to one of the largest civilizations in the continent. The Mississippians, mound builders from the Great Lakes to Florida, flourishing in the year 1150. The first explorers thought these great mounds were natural, carved by retreating glaciers. Now we know that they were the centerpieces of cities like Cahokia. Busy trading posts of earth and wood with populations of thousands of people. No one knows what they called themselves or what language they spoke. But we do know why they were successful. Mississippians are farmers. Their staple crop is fuel for the ever-growing population. It is a plant native to the Americas, unknown to the rest of the world. Once they learned to grow it, they could stay in one place. This simple diet translated straight into the energy to build a civilization. But corn is not a blessing from nature, nor a gift of the gods. This crop is the outcome of man's first feat of selective breeding. Scientists realized relatively recently that the ability to grow corn is a key to high cultures in the Americas.
The staple crop in North America was corn. 6,000 years ago, ears of corn were only about as long as a person's thumb, and they were barely edible. It took thousands of years to develop a more nourishing and larger hybrid, and also a hybrid that could grow in cooler climates outside of Mesoamerica. And it wasn't until about 1,100 years ago that corn reached the Mississippi River Valley.
Okay, so here I just really wanted you to get a feel for us to remind ourselves that Native American culture wasn't just people in teepees, chanting songs, war paint, and even when we think to ourselves, oh, I don't have that kind of thought about Native Americans, an overly simplified view. Well, no, Native Americans have kind of also went through this kind of pendulum of being seen as savages to being kind of overly romanticized in some sort of mystical New Age way, or merely, on many different levels. And yet, whatever approach has been through time, what we really want to draw attention to the fact is that civilization was here. Maybe the Europeans didn't think it was civilization, but what you just saw in a short clip, would you not call the original people of Mississippi, civilized? And think about their contribution. Think about all the corn being grown in the Central Valley and all parts throughout California. Think about the fact that these people thrived in various ways with amazing architecture, and the majority of that culture is lost. And it was lost because of European culture. Okay? And we can't forget that. We cannot. I think it's fair to say, without any kind of self-hating, self-loathing way, for those of us of European descent, it's not honest to talk about celebrating the beauty of this country and realize that it was at the expense of another people. And some could say, oh, well, they would have did it to us, or they did it to other people. Well, okay, fair enough. Yes, it's true. I'm a world historian, and you see that in the world, it's a constant story of one group pushing out another group for land. But let's be honest about all of those stories, and then kind of just, absorb that in, and maybe that helps us kind of contemplate a more humane and rational idea about what it means to be a nationalist, or what it means to think about ethics and what a nation's legacy should stand for, and what it must continue to stand for, what it will, and what it did. So anyways, now that's just my opinion. You don't have to take it in, but at least the history part, I'm trying to help you be aware of. So I'll end this here on this lecture.